Greetings, and welcome to the High Flying Tutors Academy channel. Today, we will be helping you on how to prepare the debtors collection schedule. So here is the information. We are going to look at the information for the cash budget for SEAL Limited. SEAL Limited had sales of 100,000 in January, 80,000 in February, 90,000 in March. The company's forecast sales for the upcoming months as follows: 110,000 in April, May, 100,000, June, 120,000. Additional information: the company had a cash of 20,000 on the 1st of April, right? And then 40% of the company's sales are for cash. Credit debtors or credit sales are collected as follows: 20% during the month of sales, 50% during the first month following the sale, 20% during the second month following the sale, 10% during the third month following the month of sales, right? And then prepare this debtors collection schedule for SEAL Limited for the period for the months of April, May, and June, right? And then here is the information. So I want to go and clarify certain things on the answer sheet that you must have in your mind, all right? So number one, on this table where you are going to put or prepare, or on this format of the debtors collection schedule, you are going to determine the months. You are also going to calculate the credit sales, and then you are required to prepare this schedule for which months. Let's go and check right there on the answer sheet for April, May, and June. So it means here you're going to indicate the months that you are preparing the debtors collection schedule for: April, May, and June. All right. And then on the column of months, you outline all the months that are provided there, all the months that are provided for sales, which is going to be January, February, March, April, May, and June, right? So let's go and put that on our answer sheet, which is going to be January, February, March, April, May, and June. All right. And then after that, we are going to calculate the credit sales for each month. We're going to calculate the credit sales for January, February, March, April, May, and June. Because remember, as you collect, you are collecting from credit sales. Cash sales already you collected when you purchase. So right now, I want us to go and calculate our credit sales. All right. So the information on the question says that 40% of the company's sales are for cash, right? That means 60% of the sales are on credit. The 40% is for cash, 60% is on credit, right? So now let's go and calculate the credit sales. We're going to calculate credit sales for January, right? January, the total sales for January is 100,000. All we need is it's 100,000, which is 100%. All we need from this 100,000 is 60%. That is for credit sales, right? So we go to our answer sheet right there and say 100,000 multiplied by 60 divided by 100, and then we get how much right there? Let's see, just put quickly on your calculator right there. It's going to be 100,000 multiplied by 60 divided by 100. I am getting 60,000 rand. That means this 60,000 rand is the amount for credit sales in January. All right, and then let's go to calculate the credit sales for February. The credit sales for February, the amount for total sales in February is 80,000. Is 80,000. So we go to our answer sheet right there and say 80,000 multiplied by 60 out of 100. Let's put that on our calculator quickly. So it's going to be 80,000 multiplied by 60 divided by 100. So I'm getting 48,000, right? 48,000, it's your credit sales for February, right? When you collect for February, you are going to collect from 48,000. And then we go for March. The total sales for March is 90,000. So you need to calculate 60% of 90,000. That will be your credit sales. So 90,000 multiplied by 60 out of 100. And then let's see how much you are getting March credit sales. Quickly put that on your calculator. So it's going to be 90,000 multiplied by 60 divided by 100, and then I got 54,000 rand. 54,000, right? And then for April, we need to calculate credit sales for April. For April, the total sales is 110,000. 110,000. So you go there and say 110,000. You multiply by 60, you divide by 100, and then you get how much? Let's see. Let's put that on the calculator quickly. Let's put that on the calculator quickly. We are going to say 110,000 multiplied by 60, you divide by 100, and then I'm getting 66,000. 66,000 is your credit sales for April. And then May, let's go and calculate credit sales for May. May, we've got a total amount of 100,000 sales, and we need 60% of credit sales. And then it's gonna be the same as January, right? So we can just say 100,000 just to indicate the calculation. We multiply by 60, we divide by 100, and then we get 60,000 rand. 60,000 rand. Okay. And then it's equal to 60,000 rand. And then for June, let's see how much is the sales for June, total sales for June. So total sales for June is 120,000. So we go to our answer sheet, we say 120,000. 120,000, you multiply by 60, you divide by 100. All right. And then how much is your credit sales? How much is your credit sales right there? Let's see, put quickly on the calculator. 120,000 multiplied by 60 divided by 100. I am getting 72,000. 72,000 rand. Okay, that is your credit sales for June. All right, so credit sales for January 60,000. Credit sales for February 48,000. Credit sales for March 54,000. For April, 66,000. For May, 60,000. And for June, 72,000. We are going to collect from the credit sales. Everything that we collect in each month that is affected, we are going to collect from credit sales. That means we are going to collect from this. All right, so I'm just going to put this. So that we know that we are going to collect from this. I'm going to highlight them in yellow, right? All of them, all the credit sales must be highlighted in yellow so that we don't get confused. We are going to collect from this, all right? So now, we are going to collect from those amounts that are in yellow, all right? And only if they are affected in the months that we are collecting for, or that we are required to prepare the debtors collection schedule for, all right? So now, let's go to the question to proceed. Remember, when we go to the question, we're going to look at the credit policy. This is called the credit policy on how they collect, okay? So now, let's see. They are saying, number one, they collect 20% during the month of sales. So it means if you buy on credit in January, we are going to collect 20% from you in January. Or if the client or your customer purchase goods from you or you sell to them on credit in January, we are going to collect 20% of what they are owing in January. And then we are going to collect 50% during the first month following the month of sales. That means if a person bought in January, we are going to collect from that person 50% the following month, which is going to be February. And then we are also going to collect another 20% in the second month following the month of sale, and 10% during the third month following the month of sale, right? So now I want us to go and start with the month of January, right? And check if the month of January, there is any of the policy requirement that is affecting the month of January, right? That will affect also our month for the debtors collection schedule, right? So remember, the policy says if you purchase in January, you pay 20% in January. So January is not part of our debtors collection schedule months. And then the policy again says if you bought in January again, you have to pay 50% in February. February is not on our month for debtors collection schedule. And then the policy again says, let's see on the question right there. The policy also says if you bought in January, right, you are going to pay another 20% on the second month following the month of sale. Our second month following the month of sale is March. March does not fall under our period, all right? And then if you bought in January again, you are going to pay 10% during the third month following the month of sale. So the third month following the month of sale is April. So in April, for the people that are owing us in January, we are only going to collect 10% from people of January in April, right? We are going to collect 10%, because remember, 20%, the first 20% was collected in the month of sale, which is January, and is not part of our debtors collection schedule months. Even there's the 50% on the second month, on the first month following the month of January, or of sales, which is January, and it's not part of our monthly budget. March as well, the other 20% is collected in March, and it's not part of our debtors collection schedule a month, but 10%, the last 10% is collected in April. So we're going to calculate that 10% that we are collecting for the money, for the amount of January. So when we collect that 10%, we're just going to say 60,000, 60,000, all right? 60,000 multiplied by 10 out of 100. How much did we collect there? How much did we collect right there? So it's just going to be 60,000 multiplied by 10 out of 100. So it means in the month that is affected for the credit sales of of January is April, and we are only going to collect 6,000. That is 10%. We are only going to collect 6,000 rent for the month of January in April. I don't know if I make sense right there. So because the other 20, remember we've got 20 during the month of sale, 50 the first month following the month of sale, 20, another 20% second month following the month of sale, and 10% fourth month following the month of sale. So the fourth month is April and is in our debtors collection schedule. So we are going to calculate for the month that is affected, that is in the debtors collection schedule that we must collect for, right? And then we are done with January, all right? We are done with January because there's no any other collection that we must make after that 10% of collection. So we put a dash, or you can put a 0 right there. All right, so we are done with January. We go to February. Remember, the policy is the one that must guide us, that during 20% is collected during the month of sales. All right, so now we go back. We say, oh, we must collect 20% in February from 48,000. But February, we cannot calculate for February because it's not part of our debtors collection schedule. And then remember, the policy again says you must collect 50% during the first month following the month of sale. Are you with me? And then, so when you go back, you check, oh, the first month following the month of sale is March. That's why we must collect 50%. But March does not fall under our debtors collection schedule months. So we're not going to calculate for March as well. And then April, in April is the second month following the month of sale. It means we must collect how much? 20% from February in April, right? We consider that. Are you following right there? And then it means we have to say what? 48,000 multiplied by 20 divided by 100, right? And then how much are we collecting? How much are we collecting there? Let's do that on our calculator. I hope you guys are following. I hope you guys are going to understand this. 48,000 multiplied by 20 divided by 100. I got 9,600. So we are going to collect 9,600 in April for the month of February. And then we also have the third month, because remember, April is the second month following the month of sales. So April we collected for the month of February, and then we also have to collect for the third month. In the third month, we are collecting 10% according to the policy, 10% during the third month following the month of sales, which is 10%. So we must also collect 10% in May for the month of February, which is going to be 48,000 multiplied by 10% divided by 100. And then how much are you getting right there? How much are you getting right there? Let's do that on our calculator quickly. Let's do that on our calculator quickly. So it's going to be 48,000 multiplied by 10 divided by 100. So I'm getting 4,800. So we are collecting 4,800 in May for February. And then in June, remember 10% is the last collection percentage that we're collecting. So we're not going to collect anything in June for February. I hope you guys are following. And then let's go to March. If you guys understand February, definitely let's go to March. In March, we are going to collect again, right? From 54,000 rent. All right. So now when we collect in March, remember, we go back to the policy. One, the policy says 20% during the month of sales. It means we're going to collect 20% of the credit sales in March, because it's during the month of sale. So March is the month of sale this time. But March, remember, does not form part of the months in the debtors collection schedule, right? So now we are not going to collect or calculate for March, because March is not in this month. right? We only calculate when we collect in this month, right? So now let's proceed. So now the second policy says we need to collect 50% during the first month following the sale. So it means 50%. What is the first month following the sale in this case? Remember, March is the month of sales, of which we already collected 20% because it's just that it's not in our month, so we can outline it or we can recognize it, right? And then we are going to recognize or calculate for April. In April is the first month following the month of sale. Therefore, and it's in our debtors collection schedule months, right? So it means we need to collect 50% of 54,000 because for March, we need to collect 50% of credit sales for March, which is going to be 54,000 multiplied by 50 divided by 100. How much are you collecting in April for March? Because we are collecting for March in April now, raw. So let's put that on the calculator. 54,000 multiplied by 50 divided by 100. I'm collecting 27,000 rent in April for the month of March, right? And then we have to collect again, we have to collect 20% during the second month following the month of sale. So what is the second month following the month of sale? Remember, we're dealing with March now. And then the second month following the month of sale of March is going to be May, and May is part of our period. In May, because it's the second month, we're collecting 20%, right? So it's going to be 54,000 multiplied by 20 divided by 100, all right? Because in the second month following the month of sale, we are collecting 20% of that credit sales. So let's put that on the calculator quickly and see how much we are getting, all right? So it's going to be how much? Let's put that on the calculator. Let's calculate together. So it's going to be 54,000 multiplied by 20 divided by 100. I am getting 10,800. 10,800. Are you with me? And then we are done with collection for March in May. And then we have to collect for the third month, which is 10%. 10%, remember, is the third month, right? According to the policy, 10% during the third month following the month of sales, right? So we are going to June, because if you check, the month of sales is March, the first month following the month of sale is April, the second month is May, then the third month is June. It means we must collect 10% of 54,000, which is we are collecting 10% in June for March. I don't know if you follow. And then it's going to be 10 divided by 100 right there. All right. Let's fix this one. All right. And then it's equal to, let's see. Let's put that on the calculator quickly. It's going to be 54,000 multiplied by 10 divided by 100. And then I'm getting 5,400. 5,400, right? So I've collected for all except for March, because March is not part of the first 20%. It was not outlined because it's not part of our debtors collection. For debtors collection schedule months, it's not part of that. So now we are done with March. Now we are going to collect for April. When we collect for April, remember, when we go to April, April is the month of sales. And the policy says in the month of sales, we are collecting 20% during the month of sales. We are collecting 20% in the month of sales, right? So it means when we collect, we are going to collect for April in April 20%, because April is the month of sales. How much are we going to collect? we are going to collect from 66,000 how much? 20%, because the first or the month of sale is collection, it must be 20%. So 66,000 multiplied by 20 out of 100. And then how much are you collecting in rent value right there in April for April? April for April. Let's do that quickly on the calculator. So it's going to be 66,000 multiplied by 20 out of 100. And then in April for April, we are collecting 13,200, right? We are collecting 13,200, and then we are going to proceed. This is how much we are collecting April for April. And then April in May or April, we are going to collect in May for April. I mean to say, we're going to collect in May for April, right? Because so May is the second month. I mean, it's the first month. May is the first month following the month of sale. And then what does the policy say about that? The policy says you have to collect 50% during the first month following the sale. So because we are collecting in April, the first month following the month of sale is May. We need to collect 50% in the month of May for April. So we multiply by 50 divided by 100%. How much are you collecting right there? Let's do the calculation quickly. It's going to be 66,000 multiplied by 50 out of 100. So you are collecting 33,000 in the month of May for April. I don't know if that makes sense right there. Right. And then we are going to the second month following the month of sale. The second month following the month of sale is June. Right? So the second month following the month of sale, what does the policy say? Because always you need to go back to the policy on how we collect. And then they're saying during the second month following the sale, we are collecting 20%. Again, are you with me? So it means you have to go and calculate 20% in June for April. We are collecting 20% in June for April, which is the second month following the month of sale, right? And then we multiply by 20 out of 100. Let's put that on the calculator and see how much. 66,000 multiplied by 20 divided by 100. I think I'm getting 13,000, which is the same as the first one, which is going to be 13,200. All right. And then in May, now we are done with April. This is how you do it for April. We cannot collect 10% because 10% is going to be collected in July, and July is not part of our debtors collection schedule month. So we're not going to deal with 10% for April, right? So let's go to May. Let's go and collect in May. So when we go to May, remember May is the month of sales, right? May is the month of sales. May is the month of sales. So the policy says what? Let's go back. This is how you must do it. Always go back to the policy before you do your calculations, before you go back to the policy. Even if you think you know better, but for you not to make mistakes, go back to the policy. So we are in the month of May, and the policy says 20% during the month of sales. We are collecting 20% during the month of sales. So it means we are going to collect 20% during the month of sale. The month of sales is May this time. So we're going to collect in May. So it means April is not affected. We're not going to collect anything in April for May. We need to start collecting from May. So now it means we are going to say 60,000 multiplied by 20, because in the month during the month of sale we are collecting 20%, right? And then it's equal to, so how much are we collecting from there? 20%. We cannot count April, remember, because is the month prior. If you check, the month priors, they are not there anyway. We're not calculating for them. Why? Because they are prior. All right. And then we are going to collect 20% in the month of sale, which is May. 20%, right? So it's going to be 60,000 multiplied by 20 out of 100. So we are collecting 12,000 in the month of May for May. 12,000 in the month of May for May. 12,000. And then we are going to the second month, or the first month following the month of sale. First month following the month of sale is going to be June. In June, we are collecting 50%. Remember what the policy says. The policy says we are collecting 50% during the first month following the sale, or following the month of sale. And then the month following the month of sale, because we are in May, is going to be June. All right. So in June, we are collecting 50%. So it's going to be 60,000 rent, right? We multiply by 50, you divide by 100, right? So how much is the 50% of 60? Let's see how much we are collecting right there. 60,000 multiplied by 50 divided by 100. So it's 30,000 rent, all right? So we are collecting 30,000 rent in June for May. I don't know if you got that one. Trying to make things and simplify things here. So this is how we do it. So we are not going to collect the second month. We're not going to collect for the second month, because the second month following the month of sale is July, and July is not in our budget or our debtors collection schedule months, right? And then we're also not going to collect the last 10%, because there is going to be for the third month following the month of sale. So when we are in May, the third month is going to be August now, and then we are not going to collect because we don't have that in our debtors collection schedule. So we are going to leave that one out. All right, let's go to June now. In June, remember, in June, we don't consider prior months. So it means we're not going to consider April in June. We're also not going to consider May in June. All right, we are going to consider June for June, which is going to be during the month of sale. And during the month of sale, we are collecting 20%, right? So it means we need to go and calculate 20% June for June. And then the first month is going to be July. It's not part of our debtors collection schedule months. The second month is August. The third month is September. They are out because they are not in our debtors collection debtors collection schedule months, right? So it means it's going to be June for June, which is going to be 20%. So we're going to say 72,000. You multiply by 20%, you divide by 100. How much are you getting right there? Quickly, let's see. I hope this is easy, right? I hope this is easy. I would like to hear this in my comment. How do you feel, and do you understand better? Can I find a better way to improve and make you understand more and more better, right? So 72,000 multiplied by 20 divided by 100. Okay, so we are going to collect 14,400 in June for June. 14,400, right? June for June, all right? And then we are done. That's how we're supposed to collect. And then we are going to just indicate the totals. The total of collection. Total of collection. So total of collection, we are going to add for April, we're going to add 6,000. 6,000. Plus this 9,600, right? okay? And then we add 27,000. We're also gonna add 13,200. So let's see how much right there. Put on the calculator quickly. So 6,000 plus 9,600 plus 27,000 plus 13,200. I'm getting 55,800. So the total there, the collection for April is 55,800. Total collection for April is 55,800. And then we go for May. For May also, I'm gonna highlight them. We're gonna say 4,800 plus 10,800 plus 33,000 plus 12,000 and then let's put that on the calculator and see how much we're getting as the total, right? So it's going to be 4,800 plus 10,800 plus 33,000 plus 12,000. I am getting 60,600, okay? 60,600. 60,600. And then we are done with the total of collection for May. Let's go to the collection for June. Collection for June, remember, you have to say 5,400 plus 13,200 plus 13,200, okay? And then plus 30,000 plus 14,400. Right, let's put that on the calculator and see how much is the total for June. Total collection for June is going to be 5,400 plus 13,200 plus 30,000 plus 14,400. And I'm getting 63,000, right? 63,000, right? So 63,000. So that's how we do our debtors, or how we prepare our debtors collection schedule. All right, that is our debtors collection schedule. Those are our totals that will go to our cash budget. And this will go to our cash budget statement, right, under credit sales collection or debtors collection, right? So this is our cash budget, our debtors collection schedule, and I believe you guys will understand better. And please also put the comments to highlight on me on whether I have to find a better way to make you understand, or you are fine with this way, so that I prepare another topic or another question for debtors collection schedule for you to understand more better and better, right? So that we can jump to the creditors collection schedule, and then we go to jump to the entire budget or to the entire cash budget statement. So please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to all the people that you think can benefit from this. And salute.